Hey, how's it going? Um, excuse me. I would like you to please take a look at my signs. Excuse me. So, yesterday, my topic was sort of based around clean slate, having a clean slate, and I've been talking about change for like months and months and months, and that's probably going to go on because the changes are not going to stop. Hold on. And it's like momentous stuff, kind of. So it's not just regular change that is just always happening anyway. But, today I got on the topic of worship, and I think it was somewhat influenced. Well, never mind that. There, about worship, and then that in turn led me to thinking of cults, because there's so many types of worship. So I'm actually not going to say a whole lot about cults right now, because I wrote a piece and I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to put the link to where it is, if you would like to read it, in the description box, so you can look at it before, after, in the middle of the video, whatever. If you decide to look at it, that's where it is. So, what I did want to talk about, though, was, like I said, the cults, because, I don't know, it just came to mind, like that was the thing to talk about, or think about today, and there's been no shortage of them here in the U.S., United States. There was the Jim Jones cult, the People's Church, and that was just a disastering. Yeah, it was a disastering event, disastrous conclusion to what started out as a bunch of people looking to get a better life, for one thing, to have acceptance and for brotherhood and fraternity and all of those things that actually, I am most familiar with those ideas from church, and that's probably true of a lot of people, but it's not the only place where that type of fellowship is encouraged, or just like part of the landscape. But worship fits in with that also kind of neatly. So when I started thinking about that way, of course it's gonna make me think of like sort of the ones that weren't great. So yeah, there was like the Guyana thing, the Jim Jones thing, and that was terrible. Another one was, I can't believe I can't remember. It's not like I wrote it 2 years ago. Another example is come on, brain. I love it when my brain just shuts down in the middle. Come on, man, seriously. Oh, here it is. And that's, what the heck is that? Like, okay. Thought I had the last page. I was like, don't do that to me. Whoa. Come on. Where is it? Not that one. Well, yes. So, oh gosh, the next one, or one of the ones I want to talk about, is Scientology, but I thought there was one in between Jim Jones and Scientology. In fact, I know there is. Where is it? It's just going to drive me nuts until I find it, so let me just find it. Oh, that weird Nexium cult where people didn't die, but their spirits probably died because it was supposed to be this self-help thing, and as those things usually are, it was built up to be something that it pretty much wasn't once you got all in too deep, like in beyond help. Yeah, and the third was Scientology that I talk about in this stuff. So, and we know probably more about that one than any other one. And that one also, to the best of our knowledge, has not caused anyone to, it hasn't been deadly. I haven't heard, and I kind of follow it, so I think I would have heard something about it. But the thing with that one is the way they're set up. It's so textbook cult. They are very secretive. It's like East Germany. Everybody's watching each other for some infraction that they will immediately narc on that person with. They somehow really quickly convince people to separate from their families and give over like almost every cent they make, or else people just have always made so much more money than me. Like, I just can't comprehend how you have to pay these like elevating exorbitant fees to the church and still like support your well, I don't know if you still support your family because you don't get to live with them. You might get to live with your spouse, but probably not the kids, which I hate to agree with J.D. Vance on anything, but in a way, separating people from their kids dismantles the minds of those parents. When he talks about people not having kids being the dismantling part, like maybe he had something, there was something to what he was saying, but he just was saying it about the wrong thing. I don't know. He saying things and having them be wrong things seems to be a theme for the poor guy. And he is, I mean, we're talking about cults. Why not include Maganon? I'm not even going to separate the two anymore. They don't need a Q. You get it, Maganon. They're so enmeshed. And, but they are not anything like Scientology or the other one. Although, they have violent sides and people that, yeah, it's kind of bad, that Maganon. But, the Scientology, thing about them is, so they got like the whole like snitching on each other culture, so everyone's just like looking over their shoulder all the time, and I guess at the same time committing like terrible acts of sounds like human trafficking and slavery and like extracting all of the money and doing all kinds of mind control. But the thing about it is the way they have it set up is that you don't know what you can't see. You just know that you don't know what's going on. Like the leader, David Miscavige's wife, Shelley, was missing for years. And then I just saw on YouTube last year, I guess they found her. Apparently she was alive. But I also got the idea that there was still something wrong with it. Miscavige, the man, is known to be quite abusive, and his behavior sounds like a baboon on crack, honestly. Like just leaping up on tables and assaulting people. And this is a little guy, and so like the people that have left, like one is Mike Rinder, and he worked very closely with Miscavige for years, and even I think was in Scientology because he's older. I think he was in it before Miscavige certainly gained the position that he got, because as far as I know, he's not like related to L. Ron Hubbard or anything. Wait, is that the right guy? Is that the one that started Scientology? Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard. So, as far as I know, the families are not related, but Miscavige's dad has been in it since probably the beginning. So there's close ties to like the management or whatever. And it also, there's been a lot of documentaries and television shows even about documentaries though about what happens between people trying to investigate Scientology, like, or people that have left, or people trying to get people out, or just trying to communicate with the families, because you get in trouble if you like, if they like rip apart your family and you try to like be in touch with them and you're not supposed to, you get in trouble. And that constitutes like, you know, go clean some ship with a toothbrush. Like, I'm not exaggerating about that. So, I don't know what they have done and not done behind the scenes, and they're so huge, and they've gotten into like the U.S. government. I know, like, they had some kind of deal with like IRS and the federal government where they got around that churches and taxes business. And I say this in the piece that I wrote, that they seem to, even if law enforcement is called, like in LA, there's something going on between, or at least at the time that I saw, like the Haggis documentary, Paul Haggis, because he's a former Scientologist, and he made a film about what happened to him after, and that was about them harassing him. And, you know, they hire private detectives, but like bad ones that'll like harass you and like terrorize you, and they, you know, break windows and physical intimidation and follow you around. It's really weird. And the LAPD just, people call and they're just like, yeah, I mean, it seems like they're reluctant to do anything. They treat the person that called with contempt, and I don't know what the heck is that I don't know what the heck is that about. I really don't. It makes no sense to me. Yeah, those are kind of like, I think people who maybe want to worship, want to find something to believe in, to feel like they can belong to, and it's big, and I don't know, like, I don't personally have those types of yearnings, so I'm not precisely sure what it's about. I just kind of know what I heard, if you know what I mean. But that's like another, well, 3 forms of worship. And then there's like just plain old regular religious worship. And so when I was starting to get ready to do this, a video came up from Cryon, and it just was about Jesus the man. So I started watching it because I guess sort of, you know, adjacent to worship as far as I'm concerned is, I know there's a spiritual factor, and I know that religion is sort of a part of it, but it's so messed up and so like not correct, and there's so much like detective work you have to do to get past like whatever fingerprint the author of whatever the religious material left on there, like opinion wise. Like, if you interpret something, like run it through your mental filter, it's gonna come away with some bit of your influence. So sometimes it's benign and it just lets the quote or whatever be as it is, and I don't feel like it's been messed with or phrased in some way that makes me feel some kind of way that's not good. Because if it's doing that thing where you're not feeling good, that ain't right. It's not supposed to do that to you. And so that's just what I feel, speaking for my own self, opinion commentary, I will remind you. So the thing about Jesus that I have sort of divined from my own sort of searching is that we were worshiping him and what he could do, when that was not what he was saying to people. He was cryptic. He spoke in parables a lot. Like, it must have been really annoying, actually, to just constantly, like, maybe it'd be like talking to Yoda all the time. Like his manner of speech, you'd just be like, okay, you're wise, but just say it. Or maybe not, I don't know, maybe that's just me. But I imagine that, I hope he just spoke to people like just regular and wasn't constantly trying to impart, wisdom and stuff, because again, like, it was give people a break. Obviously, from what we've learned, that we are still seeing signs of today that we didn't learn. We learned the wrong things. We put our own spin on it and ego and all kinds of weird things, which was not what he was saying. So in this Cryon channeling, Cryon is interesting because he is able to, well, he's not a he, it's a person. The guy that channels Cryon is a he. So I tend to refer to them as a he. It's not even a single being, really. Like, maybe at one time someone with the name Cryon was, but it's actually part of a non-physical collective, vibrational collective. So, and it's a teacher, teaching energy, and it's a master, an ascended master. So what it was saying about Jesus is something that I've kind of been wrestling with. Like, is it okay to, like, kind of diverge in belief from what you were taught from your religious education? And it's been like I'm saying, like, being all suspect of what I'm reading that comes across from, like, a religious standpoint, because I'm like, I have to, like, figure out, is it, is it poisonous or not? And what Cryon said in this particular video that I thought was interesting, because now he's been kind of going along saying it more and more, saying more about it more often. And what he said today was, here's this guy, he just, all these different, like, takes on him and what he represented and what he said, and none of them know what he meant. And I feel like that's because they were worshiping him and what he did, and he, the whole time he was going, no, things will go good if you just listen to me. So he wanted to come here to Earth. He already existed in non-physical form, like in heaven or whatever, and he wanted to come down and, like, do the lifetime on Earth like we are all doing, but he wanted to come and, like, change a paradigm, is the way Cryon put it. And the paradigm is the vengeful, judgmental God, when Jesus, and somehow I'm only finding this all out now and not out of the Bible or any of the religious schooling that I had, was that God is about love. God is not going to judge you. God is going to love you no matter what you do, like a serial killer parent. He wanted to, like, straighten out the book and straighten out the story and get people to understand that this angry God of, like, all of these punishments is a human construct. And that's what we do. The thing comes and it tries to say, hey, good, happy thing. We're just all, hey, good, grab it and run, and just know what I mean? So Brian was like, you guys just want to keep him on the wood, like in the Bible, in the story, because he talks about the crucifixion, and he says he was there for it, it. So, you know, when they finally crucified him, I guess they did it a couple of times, because he said they didn't do him with ropes this time like they had everyone else. They wanted to make an example of him and teach him a lesson for like bucking the system. This is the Romans. The Romans are the they that I'm referring to, because he ended up being crucified by them because he was bringing this information that was going against their Roman Catholicism and control mechanism with the Bible and the Roman Catholicism. That first they crucify him and then they make him a full-on part of it. What? Doesn't that seem messed up? So, I mean, I think that's the kind of thing that he was trying to point out, but I don't remember in anything I've learned until recently saying that's why he came. He didn't, like, you know, you hear he died for your sins. Okay, well, what does that even mean? Well, exactly what's it? Explain that. All these years, that shit still doesn't make sense. And that ain't even right. You know, he came here to show, like, what you could do to live and be happy and exist in the world that's, yes, kind of crazy with the Romans. And there was other factors, like the Jews didn't like Jesus. They thought he was an evil priest. I'm quoting Cryon here. I'm going to link it so you can see for yourself. It's actually like several recordings all condensed in one, so it's long. Be aware of that, but I just think it's so interesting to hear this point of view. It's like listening to the Dolores Cannon hypnotic regressions that, wow, those I had never heard. Before I heard one, I had no idea what I was in for. But let me get back to what I was saying. So, he was saying that all these people, the Romans and the Jews, they're like, no, shut up, stop trying to change the status quo. We like it this way. And he's like, yeah, but that ain't how it's supposed to be. I'm trying to tell you how it is. Why are you making it this way? And they're like, okay, now you're making a problem of yourself. And it probably wasn't the Romans alone. If I remember, actually, I think there was discussion with the Jews about grabbing up Jesus and putting him on the wood. And so, do you not see a parallel in today? Like, I'm not saying that anyone, any prominent politician or anyone famous that I can think of is a Jesus figure. Well, actually, I can think of one person that I really feel like has that Christ consciousness, and that's Keanu Reeves. I don't know how he does it, but respect. Oh, actually, I know someone else. Never mind. I guess I know two people. I guess I know more than... They're rare, I guess is what I'm saying. The people with the Christ consciousness. But look at Keanu Reeves. Like, you people, oh my God, have you seen his fandom? Yikes. That's kind of worshipy. And wow, he manages to, I mean, he just walks among the normies like... Wow. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. That is something that not everyone can do. It's more than just a temperament thing. It is something that you aspire to. Like, you have to learn some things. Some people have like an affinity or an innate natural ability for things, but you know, yeah, you know how Jesus became magic? I mean, certainly there was help from like the other side of the veil, and that would be true for all of us, but he could do things like tune his vibrations like amazingly and properly. I believe it was in one of the Dolores Cannon hypnotic regressions that she was talking about how the men got taught law and some mathematics so they could do trade, but everything else, higher education, was reserved for like royalty and higher up clergy, and I don't know, whoever else had to know like the big important stuff. But then, as now, knowledge was sequestered, was like compartmentalized, and there are 18 years that the Bible has called missing, although I think that's pretty well debunked now, that he was not actually missing, and he was off with his uncle Joseph, who was a tradesman, so he went, and a sailor, so he went all over the world. And we're learning now that boat travel was far more extensive than we even gave credit for people in antiquity of having. But I mean, there's like Arabic that in America that no one can place, like how or why it got there, and I believe it's been carbon dated or whatever, and it's just there. And there's a lot of information that could be taken up that points to explanations, but popular science doesn't, or like education doesn't. But anyway, like people got around a lot more extensively than we gave them credit for. So, you know, Jesus spent time in India and learned about, I think, Hinduism and Buddhism. He like spent a lot of time there. And he learned other religious disciplines too. I'm not going to name them because I can't remember what all they were, if I ever knew. Because I'm just going off of stuff I read. It's not like I'm a scholar and I have like the whole story. Be aware of that. I very well don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Keep that in mind. But, anyway, that's where he was disappeared off to. He was like touring around the world, and I don't know if his uncle would like drop him off places and leave and come back, or hang around while he was doing all this studying. That I don't have information for. I need to listen to more Dolores Cannon, because I bet there's more information on those particular details. But so, okay, I'm just saying, the whole idea of Jesus was not about how he died for our sins. It was about like he living as an example in times that were antiquated compared to now, but a lot of the same kind of stuff was going on, the same kind of social stuff, military, government stuff. It kind of all started back then, so I guess some things just become set in stone or something. That doesn't sound healthy. and then like other stuff that we can worship are like celebrities, and there's a lot of evidence that gives credence to the phrase, don't meet your heroes or your favorite famous people. I've actually had the opportunity to meet a lot of famous people, and it's a mixed bag. Like, I guess it depends. As with me, depends on how you get them on what day, you know. Because I've met some that people are just like, oh, they're the greatest, they're so wonderful, and like they're kissing their feet. And then I've met them and it's like they were, and then all of a sudden they weren't. It's just like, this is not a god. This is another human being. I don't know what they're on, but their personality, whoop, changed on a dime for paying them a compliment. So, I mean, we don't always know what's going on with people, but there's some truth to, like, maybe don't try to meet them. In fact, just leave them alone, man. Like, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was, oh God, it was Ted Danson and Woody Harrelson's podcast, Where Everyone Knows Your Name. And I don't remember hearing Woody. I assume he was there somewhere, but It was somebody, oh, it was Don Cheadle. And he was in Ocean's 11 and probably some other of the Ocean's series. I saw him, I just don't remember right now. But he was talking about how when they were in Vegas, like he was talking about the accommodations. They all got like a villa, like all the stars got a villa for them and their families to live on during filming at the Bellagio. And I was like, ooh, fancy. But rich and famous people get fancy stuff all the time. And then he was talking about seeing fans, and he'd be like with everybody else in the cast, Clooney, Damon, what the girl's name is. Wow. Julia Roberts, like the cast, right? And like, they were talking about dealing with fans, and please hold on. They used to mess with Brad Pitt by when they get like mobbed with fans and they'd want to like leave and go do something else. They go, oh, Brad Pitt's over there, and like all the people and the paparazzi, everybody would just take off and they could just go do whatever. And then he was like, but then I feel bad because that guy can't go anywhere. And I'm like, well, you did that to him, and you didn't protect your friend. But that is unhealthy and unsafe. Like, why would you do that to your friend? I don't know why I'm laughing, because I really feel bad for Brad Pitt. He does have that curse where he's like, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't go up to him while he was eating, but I would have to like probably look at him for a while. I guess he does okay though. I haven't never. Wow, what is going on? I have never heard him complaining about dealing with the public. But I mean, come on, have a brain. Look at the man. Look how flibbertated I'm getting just trying to talk about it. Seriously though, I mean, I feel bad. Poor guy. And that is like a form of worship. Rock stars get it. Famous people get it. The girl that was talking about spitting on somebody's doink got famous. We are so easily amused and entertained and manipulated. It's like, come on. Try harder. I can't even get it out. I don't know what to say. Hold on. Gotta drink some more. So it seemed appropriate to pull some angel cards because I'm talking about worship. It's religion adjacent. And these angel number cards are not the same as the Joanne angel numbers, sacred scribe angel numbers, which correspond really closely to numerology. These are just, I guess, some channeled messages someone got, because there's no, like, it doesn't say, like, who's the author or the artist of these cards. And they don't come with anything anymore. There's probably, like, an online accompanying, what? That's not even a word. Accompanying booklet. Oh my God, that was hard to get out. And it's probably online. I haven't looked for it. I just deal with it how it is. But I gotta say, I did look at them, and they just don't really have a whole lot to do with the subject of worship the way that I'm approaching it. So, before I started, I thought, let me do the other angel numbers that I just talked about. The Joanne Sacred Scribes one. Excuse me, I'll be back. And I got something that is not really anything to do with it either. But it does have to do with change, and it does have to do with the numbers of the cards that I pulled. So, I'm not going to read what's on the card. I'm going to read what was on the angel number site. So, 1144. The ones stand for new beginnings. We know all about that. It's a master number. And then the fours are representing seeking to build new foundations. Like fours generally start with representing foundations, literally in like building, mason sense, in that sense, and in rhetorically or metaphorically, either one of those, like either building a literal building or building an idea. You start out with the same plan, you have a foundational idea, and then you build upon it, or you have a foundational structure and you build upon it. So yesterday was clean slate. The number 1144 says to look for new ways to diligently work and then be rewarded for accomplishing a good job. It talks about listen for help from positive entities like angels or your guides and such. It reminds us to keep the vibration high, keep it light, stay with laughter, good humor, and joy. And for some reason, doing the good work and working diligently and having laughter and good humor and joy while you're doing it made me think of Amish barn building, which everybody comes running and they make a day of it and they get a whole barn. Like, do you know how big a barn is? They are, what is a comparable building? I don't know, like a gymnasium at a high school where there's like a couple of thousand kids. Barns are big. Well, livestock is big. Have you ever seen a cow? An adult cow or a bull or a pig? They're huge. They're like the size of cars. So yes, barns have to be big. Everyone's probably, if you haven't seen a horse in person, you have to have, because they're in parades and police have them. Like, everyone's seen a horse. They're not as big as cars, but they can be. Some breeds can. Horses are big. Anyway, the barn has to be big enough to fit the big livestock. So, when you do tarot, if you have a card one way, if it's upright, you read it positively. If it's upside down, you read it opposite, negatively. And so, the flip side to this, okay, well, first, okay, I already moved on to the next number. Sorry. So, the next card was 8888. Whoa, calm down. And 8, commonly stand for, sorry. Okay, not sorry. I got ahead of myself. They stand for inner wisdom, strength, the ability to manifest abundance, and comfort achieved. Like you finally have it all. And then the flip side is status, ego, pragmatism, in the sense of sort of stepping on everybody and everything without a concern to get what you want done, rather than the flip side of pragmatism, which could be just like, making necessary sacrifices to make sure you have enough bills paid for the month, but like maybe you won't have as much ice cream or whatever, like maybe you will like not have a streamer for 1 month, like no Netflix, like whatever it is. But also pragmatism is often a part of like some sort of fascist authoritarian ideology. So in this sense, that's what on the flip side of the 8, dictatorship. I mean, there's nothing happy in Disneyland about dictatorship. It's just straight caca. Okay, so 8s could be great, beneficial, radiate shared same goodness, like multiple 8s, like 4 of them. It's powerful. So strong that it, as it radiates, it makes you want to pass it on and pay it forward, share the feeling. On the flip side, overdoing, overpowering, overbearing, controlling, law of cause and effects. As you reap, so shall you sow. And it could also stand for being on the right track and finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, but don't stop because you see it. Keep going. In fact, give it all you got towards the end there, because it is towards the end, and I don't know, at the end of the tunnel feels like a marathon. Final 8888 commentary is you have some sort of monetary wealth headed your way, and it has a flip side as well. Don't buy a bunch of drugs with it. Don't invest in some flim-flammery. Don't let everybody take it from you. So I mean, we live in a polar world. The law of cause and effect is constantly in effect. And the last card was 0440, and I kept the number here on my phone. I did not write down what it said. That's great, but okay. Repeating angel numbers, 4s and 0s. The energies of the number 4 have to do with hard work, effort, stability, and strong foundations. When a 4 and 0 combination presents, your angels wish to reassure you that you are well loved, supported, and protected. They ask that you take a moment to bask in the unconditional love, as it will hold the answer to many of your questions and will help resolve and overcome any challenges ahead of you. So it's interesting that I got these 4s and then also more of them, and it's, they're talking about a foundation, building a foundation. Whoa, and I got it over and over, and it makes me think of that sort of learning stage where you're doing stuff and failing, and you just have to keep doing it. Come on, one day you'll get that ollie kickflip thing. You just have to do it a bunch of times and bark your shin and maybe fall on your hip or something, but you want to do it because you get, at the very least, a great feeling of satisfaction from having achieved it. And so with the 1s in this first card, I feel like it's talking about new beginnings and just starting over until you get it right. And for me, that goes back to the worship thing and also the cult thing, because in both cases, in some way, you are a seeker of spiritual knowledge, fulfillment, and I don't know, whatever else someone could want from it, but ask someone. Don't ask me, though. I'm not the right person to ask. Anyway, I think that I have that all off my chest, and I will include, like I said, a link to my thingy that I wrote, and I will also link that cryon because it, like I said, it has several messages on there, and I just get so much out of listening. So if you haven't, you might want to give it a try. Give it some ones and a new beginning. You don't know what you're missing. Thank you and good night.